And in an exclusive interview, IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi discussed with I-24 News contributor Damian Pachter the prospects of a revived Iran nuclear agreement, Israel's concerns over the deal, and the fate of Ukraine's nuclear plants.
We are connecting to Vienna, where we are now joined by the International Atomic Energy Agency Director General, Rafael Mariano Grossi. Mr. Director, it is a pleasure to have you with us.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I would like to start with the war in Ukraine. How would you describe the current situation in Chernobyl and other nuclear plants taken over by Russia?
This is a highly unusual situation as a result of the conflict. It's a historical precedent with a military conflict in a geographical area with 15 nuclear reactors and a number of facilities. So it's a situation I have defined as serious, a situation that brings great concern. You mentioned Chernobyl, which is a power plant that does not produce electricity, and the reactors there are shut down. And there is very meticulous work around number 4 reactor, the famous reactor that suffered an accident in 1986. The difficulty we have is that the facility is under the control of Russian military forces, and it's very difficult for operators to make the necessary shift changes. There is the station of Zaporizhzhia, which was the subject of media and worldwide attention because of a violent act there 1 week ago involving a missile hit on an administrative facility near one of the reactors. A general picture that is the opposite of what should be the management of such a sophisticated and sensitive facility as a nuclear power plant.
I would like to continue now regarding the situation with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Can you describe the situation you found yourself in after you found uranium particles?
The process itself, so far, has not yielded good results. This worries us because, as you mentioned, we located traces of enriched uranium from more than one unreported place, a place where nuclear material was never supposed to be found. So our questions to Iran were very clear, simple and transparent. If there was nuclear material here, where is it? If there was equipment, where is it and what was done with it? Because we have no records for that. This caused a frustrating circular process of questions and answers, as I defined as technically unreliable, that at one point caused an impasse. The process, which is like 2 parallel converging tracks, takes place in parallel with further negotiations taking place here in Vienna between Iran and the 6 powers that concluded an integral agreement in 2015, overseen and controlled by the IAEA. An agreement that suffered from dysfunction, even though it was always in force, but not in practice. When the Trump administration, as you probably remember, unilaterally withdrew from this agreement in 2018, Iran remained in the agreement for a period of time, and at one point also began to abandon nuclear control measures under that agreement. These processes, the IAEA investigation process I had, and the process of negotiations that have resumed with the Biden administration in the US, are progressing to a pretty clear point for all players that a certain and tangible progress of the IAEA investigation should have been approved, so that the other negotiating processes will reach a positive result. To put it another way, it's hard to imagine anyone being able to reach a major agreement, as is currently the case under the JCPOA, when there is a dead end in the second table of negotiations with the IAEA. What happened is that I recently visited Iran. I had long conversations with the foreign minister, and we came to an understanding of how to work from now on. I want to make this clear to the audience that sometimes, in some international media, they got confused and said there is an agreement with Iran regarding the suspicious material. The truth is that there is no substantive agreement. What there is an agreement on a way to probably clarify these issues.
What was Iran's specific answer regarding particulate matter emissions?
There are a lot of pretty technical open topics, and to strip it down and not get into a very technical and convoluted explanation, I would say that the explanations we received are technically inadequate. meaning the explanations we received about the presence of these particles do not reflect what is possible.
Have you had any exchanges on the subject? And do you understand the concerns of the Israeli government regarding the nuclear program?
Absolutely. First of all, I would like to say that I had the honor to speak with Prime Minister Naftali Bennett on these issues. I fully understand the concerns that exist, and therefore my duty as IAEA Director General is to give the explanations about the situation. I found the Prime Minister a very sophisticated interlocutor who understands well the problems with Iran. As I mentioned, there is open dialogue with him, and we will continue to have it, of course.
What do you think could happen if Israel decides to attack Iran's nuclear facilities?
I hope this never happens. First of all, I am a diplomat with 40 years of experience, dedicated to international peace and security. I always believe in diplomacy, in negotiations, and that there is a way to prevent war. I want to say that any attack on a nuclear facility is prohibited under international law. So I believe it is possible that you're pointing out and I'm answering, but I believe it's something that should never be allowed to happen. This is a scenario that will be examined in the context of the conflict in Ukraine. An attack on a nuclear power plant could result in the spread of uncontrolled radiation in an environment, so it would become a threat not only to the attacked country, but as in Chernobyl I mentioned earlier. I believe the use of nuclear facilities as military targets is something that must not happen.
Do you have a message for the government and the people of Israel?
First of all, Israel is a very important partner and member of the IAEA in a number of activities related to the implementation of nuclear technology that the public may not be familiar with, but that are very important and which may not go through the strategic path we have described so far. Secondly, I want to say that not only Israel, but also the international community in the IAEA has the necessary, strong and objective means to ensure that there will be no proliferation of nuclear weapons. That is why, for us, the support of all members of the organization is so important. And the IAEA strength is the strength of the members themselves. So I refer to the conversation I had with Prime Minister Bennett a few days ago. For us, it's essential. So is the support of the international agency in these historic moments of so much uncertainty, and with countries that want to purchase existing nuclear weapons. The support, in my eyes, is essential.
Thank you, Mr. Director. It was a pleasure to have you with us in the studio.